Okay, here we are. This is night 2, week 1, DES 242. And what I'm going to be doing tonight is I'm going to be picking up where I left off last night working on the logos. I have a number of things that I'm going to show you as far as Adobe Illustrator is concerned. But what I did want to do was spend a little bit of time talking about the assignment instructions, hopefully to make sure that you're really clear on what those instructions are. Okay, so in a logo, everything from color to type to composition serves to tell the story of a company. One of the reasons that companies produce branding manuals is so they can put together information to give to designers who would be working on projects. And one of the projects that a designer would be working on would be hi Sean, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I was just getting started, so let me get to where I was here. One of the reasons that a company produces a branding manual is so that designers have something to base their work on. For instance, if you're redesigning a logo, it would mean that the logo has existed. A logo has existed. I have to shut this off because it's actually not showing me anymore. Give me a second. Stop the video. There we go. The moment somebody comes in, Sean, it stops showing me. So I had it on for a few moments and I just shut it off.
Okay.
So anyway, we're assuming that there are two different ways that you might be handling a logo. And as a matter of fact, more than likely in this course, you'll be doing both. You'll be producing a logo for yourself. I don't know, Sean, if you've ever produced a logo for yourself before or not. Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have? Okay, so it's not something that you've never done before, but hopefully with a little bit of skill and a little bit of more of an understanding of Illustrator and what Illustrator is all about, your logos will improve. That's at least what I hope.
Yeah, I would say so.
And in our project here, we are actually recreating a logo for a company. And before I actually get into working, I'm going to bring up one of the bits of information that were given about one of the companies, in fact, the company that I chose to work on, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit with you and see if it makes sense to you what's going on there, and give you an idea of how you might approach thinking about this whole process. So a logo redesign process is a delicate balance, updating the visual appearance, yet still keeping its overall feel, accessibility, and trustworthiness to its established audience. There's a lot in that one statement, okay? The bottom line is, again, you'll be given a, and Teresa just joined us. Hi, Teresa, how are you? Got a mic? I don't know whether she's saying anything. I heard something, but wasn't much. Anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be redesigning a logo. And as a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'm going to open this up. The customer that I chose was the Metropolitan Art Gallery. And as a matter of fact, if we scroll down a little bit here, let me scroll down to it. I'll go to it. There we go, right there. Okay. So the Metropolitan Art Gallery, I don't mean to come off sounding rude, but apparently that's the logo that they have. It's pretty awful, okay? So it would be very difficult for a designer to do something worse than that. And I don't mean to be insulting, but you see what I mean, right? I mean, look at it. It's certainly, the Metropolitan Art Gallery certainly has done no justice by that particular logo, right?
Correct.
Would you agree?
I would agree.
Right. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that for a little bit of perspective here. So of course, the Metropolitan Art Gallery actually it actually has a big sounding name. So in my mind, we would probably want to do something a little bit more, you know, regal, a little bit more big, you know. So the company overview basically states that the Metropolitan Art Gallery, it's a community art space located in Denver, Colorado, which is a nice area. They host a variety of weekly art classes for people of all ages. In addition, they have a large gallery space where they feature rotating exhibits of work created by, what's this here? Chat. Somebody, here we go. Oh, this is from, let's see, who's that? Is that Lori? Okay, Lori. I got the chat open here. I'm sorry, Lori. Lori, do you have your, can you talk in your mic?
Yeah, I'm here.
What happened when you try to get in?
It won't let me click on the link. And then I paste and copy it by hand and open up a new tab.
Okay.
And it says ID is incorrect. And then I went to the help desk, and they're telling me this, that, and the other thing that I already know. Don't know. And they never told me what was wrong, but all of a sudden you just appeared. So I really don't know what's going on with Zoom, but it's
Same thing with me. It's just the link's not correct. If you use the user ID or the ID number that he gives you at the bottom and go just directly to Zoom, you can put that ID number in, and that's how I got in.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad you mentioned that in the context of this in the live session, because now it's on the record. Hopefully,
right.
Yes, it happened to me as well. Happened to it looks like it's happened to everybody then, right?
Yeah, I tried to get in yesterday, and I had to do the same thing.
Okay.
And I tried that last night with the number, and it still wouldn't let me on. I mean, I tried for 45 minutes.
I'm really sorry about that. I'll see if I can do something about that over the next couple of days, and maybe I can correct it by next week. So what's happening is the link that is there is not the correct link.
Well, it won't even let me click on the link.
Is that what happened to you guys, Sean and Teresa?
Yeah, so the link where it says click on Zoom, it will not, I don't even get my cursor. It goes to like a text type thing, and it won't, so you can't even click on it.
Okay.
So I just typed in Zoom, went to their homepage, and then copy and pasted the ID number that you gave me.
Good. Okay, well, that's the backup, but I'm going to see if I can look into it and find out what's going on.
Okay.
Can't click it at all. Okay. All right. So you will not, the link just simply doesn't work.
Right. Thanks.
Okay.
And Zoom is they're not the most helpful, but I'm here, so it's all good, and sorry for being late.
No, I'm glad you're here, and it's not a problem that you're late. You're here. You had trouble getting in. It's not a problem.
Okay, thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, you saw the logo. The logo's pretty awful. I would say probably that all the other logos are kind of awful. What's really bad about those particular logos is they're very trite. Do you know what I mean when I say trite? They're small thinking. They're not big thinking. They really don't have much of a presence. They're not very formal. They've got no punch to them, and when you have something called the Metropolitan Art Gallery, I mean, that kind of gives a very formal feel in my mind. Now, maybe they don't want it to be completely formal, but they certainly, I think, want something with a great deal more class than what they have with that little frame with the which actually, I mean, if you look at the thing, this is the logo. Look at the size of the type. The frame is so big, the type is so small, and it's it's a terrible font to begin with. You know what I mean? It's just really awful. And I would say basically the same thing here. I mean, this is their font. It's awful. And even this guy right here, I mean, if you're going to do this, at least if you're going to put it on a curve, an arc like that, at least put it on a nice arc, So, I mean, these are not good logos to begin with. So the truth of the matter is you can do very little harm, but in fact, you could probably do much better when you actually go in and try to do this. So keep that in mind. You know, you really are going to have a hard time doing worse than what they got right there. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. And what really hit me with the Metropolitan Art Gallery were the colors they chose, the pink and white. Like
Yeah. It looks like a kid's store.
It does. It does.
It looks like some kind of little kid's clothing store or something, you know. I don't know what. It certainly doesn't look like a Metropolitan Art Gallery. It just doesn't work for me at all.
Or a zoo, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, they're looking for a new logo that can be used across all promotional materials and signage, as well as a line of art supplies that they sell at the gallery. And if you really want to know the truth, I don't think that logo that they have would do that job. There's too much to it. The colors are too complicated. It's not simple enough. We talked about a little bit last night. I don't know whether any of you actually had the chance to look at it yet, but I talked about flat design, and I definitely want you guys to take a look at flat design, and I want you to read a little bit about it, and I want you to consider it, because I think flat design, I'm looking at what they're looking to do here for Metropolitan Art Gallery. I think flat design would probably be perfect for this. And I might not even create an emblem for it. I may not create a symbol for it. I might just use the fonts. I actually worked a little bit more on the fonts because I wanted you to see tonight when we start working on it, I wanted you to see that this is a process. It's like a process or evolution. And as you go along, you think about what you're doing, and you think about what you know about the program Adobe Illustrator, and what you know about Adobe Illustrator. And I understand you guys are learning, but believe me when I tell you, there was a time when I was learning too. And there was a time when I didn't know a lot of the things that I know now. There's going to come a time where enough of this stuff is going to be exposed, you're going to be exposed to enough of this stuff by me and others, that all of this will become more predominant in your mind when you work with this program. And these things will occur to you as you're doing your design work. The things that I'm doing will begin to occur to you because you'll know that the stuff is there, you'll know it can be done, and you know that this offers you some possibilities to create something that's really unique, which is what we're trying to do here. Okay, so again, they're looking for this signage, this logo, to be used across a large array of applications. So think about that when you work. Also think about the concept that less is usually more. And a lot of times a very simple and elegant approach is the best approach. Okay. Color requests, they are fairly open for color. Now, I'm just looking at Metropolitan Art Gallery, obviously. You guys, I don't know what ones you're going to choose, but each one will have this little fact sheet, and you can read the fact sheet. I would be willing to bet you that fact sheets are going to end up being very similar to one another. What they're going to tell you is, they're going to be looking for the logo to be used across promotional materials and signage. They're probably going to tell you they're fairly open for color scheme to be bright, vibrant, generally active, and energetic. And then they'll give you some company keywords. I'm guessing, I didn't look at all of them, but I can pretty much guess that they will be very similar to one another. The company keywords: community-focused, friendly, inclusive, process-oriented, positive, upbeat, artistic, unique, creative, and high energy. Okay, look, you don't really have to touch every single one of these company keywords. Okay, the company keywords, if I were you and I were doing this, I would go for unique and creative. Those are the two that I would focus on more than anything else. I would try to come up with something for Metropolitan that is truly unique and highly creative, because it is an art gallery and it is representing art. So that's where you want to head with this. What do you guys think? Does anybody have any thoughts on this? Nothing?
On exactly what they want?
Oh, on any of things and whatever I've been talking about here, the use of colors, the company keywords. What would you think about if you were going to handle Metropolitan Art Gallery? What do you think you might focus on?
Mine would be colors and keywords. I would use them. I would definitely use a lot of the company keywords. Kind of give you a
direction.
A direction toward what they're looking at.
Yeah.
You know, artistic, upbeat, positive. Those can be put into color very easily. So I would use both.
Well, keep in mind that we're working on a logo here. We're not working on an identity or a branding package. But the bottom line is, once you pick these colors, those colors will become part of your identity, part of your branding. So, you really want to think about colors. And one of the things that I will try to do, I don't know whether I'll do it tonight or whether I'll do it next week, because I think next week it might be, I don't remember off the top of my head what the assignment is next week. I think it's probably going to be that you're going to be refining your work, and maybe we'll get into colors next week. I'll have to see. But at any rate, at a certain point, I am going to show you, and I don't know whether you know this or not, I'm going to show you about color, and I'm going to show you about spot color, and I'm going to show you about process color. Because process color and spot color are very important for you to understand, especially if you're working with a logo, because you need to know how to produce a logo that will work in both a Pantone environment and a process environment. That's enough for me to say right now, but believe me when I tell you, I will expand on it, and I will explain the whole thing to you. And it will, I think, impact the way you approach creating your logo greatly. So for now, just concentrate on creating clean, flat, strong graphic visuals, whether they be little symbols or whether they be just type treatments like I'm working on. Currently, I'm really working on type treatments. I haven't done anything with a symbol yet. It hasn't occurred to me that there's a symbol that I can use. There could be one that will occur to me at some point. But as it is right now, I'm kind of locked into working with type, and I'm kind of happy the way it's going. And I'm going to use that as a way to show you some things that can be done in Adobe Illustrator, because one thing I do not want you to do is to just hand me letters. I don't want you to give me initials, or I don't want you to just give me type words. I'm looking for you to transform your elements a little bit. You understand what I'm saying when I say transform them?
Yes.
When I was working on the type last night, those are transformations that I'm looking for, that kind of a thing. Okay. All right. So anyway, I'll get rid of that. Go back to this for a second. And let's see. All right. When redesigning a logo, the following 5 considerations should be taken into account. I want to mention this. I want to go over this with you so that you have the opportunity to talk to me if there's anything you don't quite get with this. Keep it simple. I'm very big on keeping it simple. That doesn't mean that you can't be creative. You can be extremely creative and still keep something simple. Does that make sense to you, or does that seem hard for you to grasp, the idea that one can keep something simple and yet be highly creative with it? What do you think? You get that? It's not a problem for you to at least try to get some sense of it? You're good? Don't mix styles. A logo is a visual representative of a company. Therefore, it must present a cohesive voice and vision of what the company is all about. Mixing styles of font, color, or imagery often result in a confusing message or consumer. Now, that directly relates back to keeping it simple. What you can do, though, however, is you can use more than one type style in a logo, okay? But when you work with a type style, the first thing you have to understand, when you pick a type style, it's always a good idea to pick a very good type style. And a lot of times I start out with picking basic type styles. I don't go in and find, well, let me go back to my pictures here. Go back to these pictures. See, now that to me is a type style I would never consider using for any kind of a logo. I would never consider using a font like that for a logo. I mean, I know it's a Guitar Academy and, you know, they want to be real cool and all that, but I still would not use that font for a logo in any way, shape, or form. Surprisingly enough, I would maybe consider using this particular font here, although it is not handled very well here. But I might consider using a font like that because it is a little more standard, and I think I could probably work better with something like this than I could with something like those two up there, okay? So I'm just giving you some general guidelines here. This font is like one of those iffy fonts. I would say to you that it could possibly be used. There could be a way of using it, but it is getting to the point where it's probably something you'd be a little bit careful of using. This font here, I've seen fonts very similar to this being used. I'm not entirely sure I like the way it's used. It looks to me like there's a drop shadow on there. And, you know, I'm very cautious about using drop shadows in logos. I tend to keep it really simple. And I try to work with the actual font and the actual shape itself. And I try to keep it flat. Things like drop shadows and excessive details and stuff don't work for me. So I'm just giving you some ideas. When it says don't mix styles, what I'm saying is you can use a primary, like for instance, give you an example. If I wanted to, I could set the word metropolitan in a particular font. If I were using words, I am not. I'm using letters. M-A-G is what I'm using for my logo, okay? And then what I'll do is secondarily, I'll find a way to get Metropolitan Art Gallery into it so that M-A-G is understandable. However, today, a lot of people use the initials like that, so it's very accepted. And as a matter of fact, I based my idea for M-A-G on the Montclair Art Museum, which I have an association with, and theirs is Museum Montclair Art Museum, M-A-M. Okay, so I'm using that as a basis, a jump-off point. I'm going to show you that in a little while, what they did and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm getting at is this Metropolitan could be in one font, and this could be in a subordinate font, a secondary font. But when you use more than one font together, you have to be very careful that the two fonts look elegant and beautiful together and appropriate. Remember that you're trying to design something that's going to last for quite a while. Okay? Everybody cool with this so far? Any questions? Don't be swayed by showy typefaces. This is something I'm going to beg you to pay very close attention to this. This one here is a killer. I mean it in all honesty. Though purely typographical wordmark logos are often very effective and flexible way to show a company's identity, I'm not doing a wordmark, but I'm doing a lettermark, which is essentially the same thing. It is important to remember that typefaces themselves carry character traits and can unknowingly contribute to logo perception. Though a typeface might be unique and unexpected, it is always best to ruthlessly evaluate its readability and underlying visual message to be sure it is visual agreement with the overall message. There's another very important point here I'd like to make. If a typeface, a font is very unique and unexpected, what you're going to find is that a lot of people are going to use it. And what's going to happen is you're going to try to create a unique looking typeface for somebody, and they're going to go to somebody else's site, or they're going to open up a piece of literature from somebody else's company, and they're going to see that exact font being used by somebody else. And all of a sudden, it's going to be like, oh my God, look at what they did. They're using the same font that we're using for our logo. It's going to make them feel very uncomfortable. Not only that, but things that are unique and unexpected today can have the opportunity to be very outdated and very passe very quickly. It can happen. So I caution you to be very careful when you pick typefaces to work with. I would always try to go with me. I prefer to use the serif and the sans serif fonts. And what I generally do is, depending upon the type of business it is, I will look at 4 or 5 and what letters. Like, for instance, I'm looking at what is it? Metropolitan Art Gallery, MAG. I looked at the letters, the capital M and the A and the G, and I found that the M's, there were 2 different types of M's, and there was one M that I preferred. The A's looked pretty much the same in all the fonts that I was looking at, and the G's were significantly different. I picked the M and the G because I picked the font because I liked the M and the G. Okay, so this is what I'm saying is when you do this, have something in mind as far as your fonts are concerned. Whether it's a word, a word logo, a word mark, or whether it's a letter mark, make sure that you have a font that's going to be bold enough and powerful enough to be a logo. Okay. It's often not good to have logos that are really fine and really delicate. So keep that in mind. Be consistent. Often logos will need to work in a variety of settings and in a variety of layouts. For example, primarily vertical logo must also have a vertical variation. Well, that's true and that's not. That's true and that's not true. It's not always true to have a vertical. First of all, I should say I've never made a vertical logo. I've never made one. I don't even know how I would approach creating a vertical logo. So every logo that I've ever created worked along the horizontal axis, not the vertical. So conversely, a primarily horizontal logo must also have a vertical variation. I've never made a vertical logo. So honestly, I don't know whether that's necessary or not. And I've never really had anybody that I've made a logo for in my life ever say to me, do we have a vertical approach for this? So as a designer, you must make sure that the message remains consistent regardless of the logo's orientation. One thing I can tell you about making logos is you have to have different types of logo, and I think I showed that to you last night. Usually there's a color version of the logo, and that color version has to be able to be made from process color and Pantone color. And generally speaking, you'll also want an all black version of your logo for anywhere that you don't have access to color, like in a newspaper advertisement is an example. And you might also want a white logo where you're going to be putting that logo against a very dark background, and the color just won't work against a very dark background. You would have a white version. So do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody cool with that? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It doesn't need to be an obvious connection, though it is tempting to use visual illustration iconographics to represent the industry in which a company is located. Often the cleverest logos are those that are highly abstracted and have little literal tie with the industry. When designing a logo, consider how you can capture the spirit of the company's character. That, I think, you're going to find very helpful, because now that opens you up to being able to come up with some kind of a very unique looking shape that might represent that company. Okay. Now, how you do that is totally up to you, and whether it works or not is totally up to you. Okay. But it doesn't necessarily have to be something that directly relates. It could be an indirect relationship. It could be a shape that's just kind of unique enough that and special enough that it works as a logo. Okay. And these things are easy enough to do in Adobe Illustrator. I mean, they really are. Once you know the program, there are all kinds of ways that you can chop shapes up, basic shapes. keeping in mind that the real core of Adobe Illustrator revolves around basic shapes, right? You guys know that, right? I mean, there are basic shapes in every single thing that you create in Adobe Illustrator. Even fonts are made up of basic shapes. They are a little bit complex basic shapes, but they are basic shapes. Do you guys agree with that? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that?
I didn't until last night.
Okay, so you now know from last night that there is a way that you can take a font and you can go type, create outlines, and then you can take the font and turn it into the basic shape that it was originally made from. It is no longer, like for instance, if I take the letter A and I put the letter A on my page, initially when I put it on my page, it's active or live type. And I can select it and I can go into the type library and I can change anything I want. As a matter of fact, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and I'm going to place the letter A. All right, A, there we go, A. Let me make this a little bit bigger if I can. Let's make it 200%, 250. Okay, there we go. There's my letter A. All right, now all I need to do is to double click this thing and go into my character panel, and it's Myriad Pro. I can change it to, there you go. There's okay, you see what I'm talking about? Now, I want you to notice that underneath this thing, let me go to the view menu and let's go hide bounding box. You see that little line right there? Can you guys see that? It's a little green line and there's a little anchor point right there?
Yes.
Okay, that is the outline of that font. Okay, and I say it's an outline because it's a very special outline. What it enables you to do is to click and place your cursor on that outline and either change that type, that font, or you could continue typing. Okay, that font is not tremendously editable right now because it is a live font. Like for instance, when it's selected here, if I go to the object menu and I go down to compound path, can you see that compound path is not selectable? It's grayed out. You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Now the reason that is because it's active type. If I go up here and if I go to type and I go create outlines, I have now made this basic shape. Now there's a whole lot. If you take a look here, can you see how many little anchor points there are there? The reason that there are so many anchor points on that letter A is because when the type designer created this, he needed all those little anchor points to create little subtle changes to the line to make that elegant looking A. That's why they exist like that, okay? But other than that, this is nothing more than a basic shape, a fancy basic shape with a black fill, right?
Right.
Okay, and I assume you kind of knew that before, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Now, if I go to the object menu and if I go to compound path and go release, I can now come in here and I can get my direct selection or my group selection tool, sorry, my group selection tool, and I can click that centerpiece and I can pull that centerpiece out, and that centerpiece is the piece that is used to punch the hole in that letter A. So this is actually made up of two pieces. And when you can do stuff like this, you can then begin to go in and modify this. Let's go edit undo. And let's see if I click on this. You see that little button right there? I can click on that and look what happens. I can change this thing. Look, I made that round. See what I mean? Now if I come in here, I don't know whether it was round to begin with. Let me see if, was it round to begin with? Let me go edit undo. Yeah, no, it was squared off. Okay, so if I click on this, yeah, and if I drag this thing down, right, if I make it round, and then if I select both of these guys, all right, and go object, clipping mask, I'm sorry, compound path make, whoops, edit, undo compound path. Why is this thing doing this now? Let's go object, undo. Maybe that's what it's grouped. That could be what it is. Let's go object, compound path make. There we go. It was grouped. Okay. Now, it doesn't look super tremendous, but can you see where I've changed this thing by curving that line right there?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to show you is that once you get into this where you're creating a logo such as this, and I'm going to be doing some of this here. I'm actually going to be doing some of this over here later on tonight. I'm going to show you how I did some of this stuff right here. I'm already showing you how to do this. We're going to work on that shortly. But I'm going to show you some of this stuff as well. And this outlining is what we need to do to actually change the nature of a font. And it's the same thing with graphic shapes. If we were working with graphic shapes and we wanted to modify graphic shapes, you know, by interacting one with another, like for instance, if I had a rectangle here, if I had a rectangle like this, and if I come over here and if I wanted to make, say, a star or something like that, okay, and I wanted to maybe, you know, have these two stars relate to one another in a certain way, you know, like come over here with my, let's see here, is it Pathfinder? Yeah, minus front. See what I mean? See what I'm doing? I'm actually modifying shapes. That's what some of the things that we can do. All right, and it's sort of similar to the kind of things that I was doing over here with my my logo over here, MAG. I mean, it's just another form of that. All right. So we're good with this. You understand basically what I was talking about with that?
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. So for the first 2 weeks of this class, you will be engaged in a logo redesign project. This week, you will choose a client from the 5 selections found within the folder. Begin the design process. Week 2, you'll finalize the logo and show it in use within a corporate identity structure. Okay, so that's where we're heading with this. And week 1 project. This week you will choose a client, right? I don't know whether you guys have done it yet or not, but you will choose a client. You will provide some rough sketches, and these can just be in black and white. And, you know, you can sketch them by hand. I don't have a problem with that, but I think you'd probably find it a lot more fun to do the things that I'm doing in Adobe Illustrator. It's perfectly fine with me. I'll look them over and I'll give you my feelings about them, and I'll give you any suggestions that I might have when I take a look at it. You have any questions about that? Does it sound like something you guys will have no problem doing? Or will there be problems? Anything you want to tell me while you have the chance? Do it now. You're good?
Good.
Good. Okay. Conduct visual research for inspiration. I gave you some links. You can do your own research, but I gave you some links, and I think if you go to that one link that I gave you for flat design, I think you can go in there, and I think there's like 60 different elements in there. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you can't find things that inspire you in there, then I don't know whether you're going to be inspired at all, because it's really just full of stuff that's inspirational. I mean, I found a couple of things myself that sent me in a particular direction. And to be honest with you, you know, you only have to go in like 1 or 2 directions and come up with several variations on a thing, and you'll be good to go. I'm sure you'll find something that's in there. And then don't forget that there are different types of logos. There's letter marks, there's word marks, there's combination marks, there's emblems, you know, and you can basically decide which way you want to go with this. And again, I don't know how well you are with you know, how well your skills are honed with Illustrator. I'm doing everything I can to show you things in Illustrator that I hope will help you. And I'm more than willing to work with you. You know what my schedules are at Blackboard. Be more than happy to help with you if you want me to. You just come and see me. Okay. So you're going to complete 9 preliminary black and white sketches of a possible logo concept. You know, 9 is what I'd like to see. If you don't come up with 9, I'm not going to kill you. Do the best you can to come up with a number of different possibilities. Okay, guys, good with that?
Yes.
Yeah. You can complete these sketches either by hand or on the computer. So you see, again, I feel since we are really in an online environment, and we're not in a classroom where you can literally hand your sketches over to me and I can sit and look at them. I think there's a lot more work involved. And I'm not saying you can't do this. If you want to do the sketches by hand, feel free to do it. If you have the ability to do them by hand and scan them in and then send them to me in a PDF form, I have no problem with that, okay? Or if you want to just go in and do what I did, rip a few things apart in Adobe Illustrator, I think that's a great way to go, because obviously you want to learn how to work with Adobe Illustrator, and all these exercises that you do in Illustrator are really honing your skill. And that's why I'm showing you this stuff, because I'm hoping that out of the things that I show you, there are things that you probably don't know very much about. So I'm giving you the opportunity to learn some things that I know about the program by my demonstration. Once you've completed the 9 sketches, you're going to choose 3 of the most promising directions to create further refined black and white versions for each of these logos on the computer. So really what you want to do is, as quickly as possible, focus in on like maybe 2 or 3 that you think are your strongest choices, okay? And see if you can maybe tighten them up a little bit. I did that last night. I'll show you. I'll show you the reveal. Let's go to the view menu. Let me fit artboard and window. Last night I showed you this, didn't I? Right?
Yes.
And I started working on this down here, didn't I? Right? And that's where we ended up. Well, I decided that I was going to play around with this a little bit more, and this is what I've come up with so far. So when we talk about back here, you know, you're going to create a further refinement version of your logo. This is what we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like for instance, I'm not even sure I'm done with this. I'm not even sure this is what I ultimately want. But I mean, as you can clearly see, this is what I originally had, and now I've created something entirely different. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm looking for from you. I'm looking for you to think graphically about these things and what you can do. I'm going to be working on this tonight. I'm going to show you how I approach doing this whole thing here, okay? Because again, I want you to learn how to approach this kind of stuff. So I'm going to actually work on this tonight, and then I'm going to go over to here, and I want to show you something about this particular thing, this MasterCard thing, because that's kind of interesting. Then I'm going to try to jump into here, and I want to show you how I did some of this stuff here. Okay? So that's kind of where I want to be heading tonight. All right? And then, of course, your submission instructions. You want to explore your redesign process. Give me some sketching, 3D redefined, right? Ones that are tight. These can be very loose. These are going to be tight. And then I guess they want you to include the original logo. Yeah, put the original logo in there because that's what they're asking you to do, right? You good with that, guys?
Yes.
All right, list the company's keyword as found in the company document. Name your file. Obviously, you know that, okay? So there is the instructions. You got any questions?
I've got a question.
Yeah, go right ahead. Is this Teresa or Lori?
It's Lori.
Good.
So we're creating 9. I guess
roughs, Lori. 9 roughs. They don't have to be tight. They just need to be rough. So in other words, you're going to use the 9 to come up with the general idea of what you think you're going to do, so that you can look at those and say to yourself, that one's going to work, and then you're going to work through the process of making it work. Does that make sense?
Right. No, I understand that. I just wasn't quite sure. I feel pretty ignorant right now. Like how to set up your document for this.
Since they're sketches, I mean, it would be one. You could make it 1 page. You could make it 2 pages. Look at mine. Okay. I mean, I got this one over here. Let's go view fit all in window. Okay. Okay. What I did, okay, is this. Because I'm being asked to show the original, right? That's part of the assignment. All right, so I got one that shows the original.
Right.
And then I have 3 pages, and on my 3 pages, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so I only have 7. I don't have 8. But I also have over here, a couple of things. See what I mean?
Right. So
Okay.
how do you, I haven't done this in such a long time, how do you add those pages?
Well, there's two ways you could do it. You could go File, New, all right?
Okay.
And then when you open this up, New Document, I'm just going to throw out a document. Let me hit Create.
Sure.
And, messed up. Hold on. We go File, New.
Okay.
And let's go, here we go. Artboards. See the artboards here?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had, I think, 4. So instead of one artboard, you could go, instead of one, you could go 2, 3, 4, okay? And then hit Create.
All right.
And there's 4 artboards.
Okay.
Now, my artboards are, there's 4, but they're just lined up differently. Okay, so
Right.
I really didn't spend any time working with any of the other settings. I just threw out 4 artboards.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other way to do it, Lori, is this. You could come here to the, where's the artboard panel? Do I have it out even? Maybe I don't. Window, artboard. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to throw these artboards away. All right? And now I only got 2 artboards. So if I want 4 artboards, I could come in here and go New Artboard, okay? And then come in here and go New Artboard. And I now have View, Fit All in Window, or Fit All in Window. And there I have my 4 artboards back. So there's actually 2 ways that you could do it, either by the artboard panel or with the original art or the original artboard that you create from the File, New menu.
I think the little Z down at the bottom of that artboard panel lets you stack them differently too.
Yes, you can stack them differently. See here, you can come like this. Hit OK. There you go. Or you can even do this, Lori. Look, you can, instead of going up here and do this, right? All right. You could come in here and you can do that. New art.
Adding a new layer. Almost.
Yep, new artboard. It's not really a layer. That's an artboard. This is the artboard panel. This is,
no, but I mean, it's just that little icon there.
yeah, it's very similar in the layers panel there. I just created a new layer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, does that answer every question you got?
It does. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. All right, so back to this. So this is what you remember you didn't see this last night, this MAG, the way I got it right there, right? You can see I've actually worked on it a little bit. So one of the things that I want to also point out to you that you probably, do you guys work with the layers panel very much?
I try to if it's needed.
I would very much appreciate it.
Usually is.
Huh?
I said it usually is needed.
Yeah, I would usually begin the process of getting used to working with them. The layers panel is a very good way to isolate things and lock things. For instance, I have this layer locked, okay, which I don't really need because I'm no longer on this layer. But I have this layer here locked, okay, and all the stuff that's on that layer, this shouldn't be on this layer. It should be on the other one, but doesn't matter. And then I have this layer here, okay, which is the art that I'm going to be working on. And that's the layer showing the step 2 that I did. This is where we left off last night. This is what I did this morning just to kind of take me to the next level so I could have something else to work with tonight so that you could see that, you know, I'm going in some sort of a direction, okay? So that's why, and I deliberately use layers. I mean, their layers are extremely valuable. So I would definitely use layers. And so let me hide this layer. And let me go to the View menu, and let me go to Guides, and let's see if I can, oh, my guides are gone, evidently. I got rid of my guides. All right, let me drag a guide out again, bring it to the top there. And I probably messed it up. I should move it up a little bit, right about to there. Sometimes this thing does, it likes to snap funny. Can't move the object. What? Can't move a guide? What, are you kidding me? All right, well, it's being a real pain. Let me move this up just a touch. There we go. Okay, there that is. And then we put a guide at the bottom. The reason I'm putting the guides out there is because usually when you create a letter like a G or a O, the O goes a little bit above and a little bit below, and I want to be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by coming over here. I'm going to get my oval tool and hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to also then I'm going to just drag this thing out like this, and I'm going to hold the space bar down, which enables me to move this. Remember last night we did this. I can move this, right? And then I'm going to place this thing as about like that. And that's probably pretty close. Probably a little bit bigger than I want it to be. So if I get it like that, let go of the space bar, now I can make this thing just a tiny bit smaller, probably about like that. Right there is good. And then I can move it down a little bit. And there I have the beginnings of my G. Now, I'm going to bring the stroke forward, and I'm going to stroke it with black, okay? And this is sort of similar to what I did last night with these things. And I think I put 4 on it. Was it 4? No, it's probably 3. Does that look right? Yeah, I guess it does, right? Yeah, it looks pretty good. There we go.
Yeah, it was 3.
Yep. And now what I want to do is I want to turn this thing into a G. All right, so I have to determine how I want my G to look, okay? So let me come over to this thing here. It's not, I'll make a new one. Let me go to type, and let me click, and let me place a G up there, a G. All right, and let me select this thing, and let me make it a plain ordinary G, like maybe, wrong one. Let me go to Myriad Pro, something like that. Go to Myriad Pro. Gotham Black. How's that? Yeah, that's all right. And actually make it lighter, because got to go to Myriad. Yeah, Myriad Pro. Let me make it regular. That's good right there. Let me make it a little bit bigger, though. Let's go to View. Where's that here? Show bounding box. There we go. Let me make this thing a little bit bigger. Okay, so there's my G. So as you can see, the G doesn't loop around a lot. It sort of like loops out, but then it sort of ends. It sort of hangs. So I'm looking for it to do something like maybe, I don't know, somewhere in around there. You see what I mean? That's where I want my top curve to end. Now, this, I would say probably to about there. So let me bring it down to about there. So what I want to do is I want to cut this area out. What do you think about that? Does that look good to you? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do, once again, is I'm going to get my scissors tool, right? And I'm going to come over here and very carefully, I'm going to sit over top of my oval and click. I think I actually hit the guides. Let me go to the View, Guides, and I'm going to lock them, because now I think I need to get that circle, not the guide. There we go. Yeah, see, I hit the guide. So let me get the scissors, and let me come over here, and I'm going to click right on that point there. And then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click right on that point there. And I'm going to click on this and delete it. There we go. Let's go to the View, Guides, and let's hide the guides. Okay? So there is my beginnings of the G. Now, what I did, let's bring my original back here. What I did was I actually created a long line that ran partly into the A. All right, so let's do that again. Let's go back and do that again. So what I want to do, I think, first is I'm trying to think of how I did this, the steps I did. I think I went object, path, outline, stroke. Okay, again, what I'm doing, if you remember, I'm taking that outline and I'm turning it into a graphic shape. The reason I'm doing that is because you can't do an awful lot with paths, because paths are just a line that have a stroke on it, right? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Whereas this thing now becomes a complex shape, or a basic shape that's kind of complicated. It's it has an outline around it, so it's a fill. This is no longer just a stroke. This is a fill. So what I want to do now is I want to come over here and I want to grab my line tool, and I can actually go a little bit beyond, hold the shift key down, and I want to drag this thing all the way over until I get into the A, just like that. Okay? Then what I want to do is I want to put a stroke on it of black, and I believe it was 3. There we go, 3. Is that right? No, it's 4. I got 4 on there for some reason. There we go, 3. Okay, so now I got that, all right? And the only problem I have with this is, now this is a stroke and this is a fill, or this is a outline shape and this is a stroke. So I'm going to do the same thing to this as I did to that. Go to the object menu and go to path and go outline stroke. So now I have objects that I can interact, all right? So the next thing that I want to do is I want to take this shape and I want to move the shape down just a tiny little bit, just like that, all right? So you see what I did? I've overlapped this shape a little bit. Okay, you with me so far?
Yes.
Now what I want to do is I want to be able to cut this whole thing apart so I can play around with this a little bit. What I had in mind to do was because this thing begins to not look like a G. This looks like an A. And I want this thing to run straight into here. But I think what I want to do is I wanted to create a break here. And I could do that by putting a piece in there and trying to do it. But I got a slicker way to do this, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the shape that looks sort of like the C and that line. Those two shapes are selected. Can you see their intersections?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to go to my Pathfinder. Go to Window, Pathfinder. I don't know whether I put it away or whether I have it out there. Let's see. Where is it? Pathfinder. There it is. And what I want to do here is I don't want to go unite or minus front. I want to go and use the divide. Have you ever used the divide before?
No.
Okay.
No.
What the divide is going to do is it's going to take the shapes that I have there, which is that line that runs across the A and across that C shape, or actually the circular part of the G, and divide it all up. Wherever it overlaps, it's going to break it into pieces. It's going to create all different little pieces. Now, by doing that, it enables me to throw away pieces that I don't want and modify pieces that I might want to modify. Okay? Divide. So both of them have to be selected. I hit divide. And I don't know whether you noticed or not, but there was a very slight change that occurred of color. Did you see it when it happened or no?
Yeah, the box is lit.
A little bit, right? So now I'm going to zoom in over here first. And you can see what happens? The moment I get my selection tool, okay, all these little shapes, now they're grouped. I'm going to go Object, Ungroup, okay? Now I can come over here, I can click on that shape, and I can hit Delete. And I can click on that little shape right there, and I can hit Delete. And I have a beautiful, look at that, a beautiful piece that runs into that curve perfectly. What do you think, guys? Cool?
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So keep this stuff in mind, because this is the way that you can work to create shapes. Now what I want to do here is I want to see that little shape right there. I want to create a gap in here because I want this to look like a G. I do want the line to look like it runs over into the A, but I want it to also look like a G. So I want to create a gap in there. By using my direct selection tool, we did this last night, if you remember correctly. I come in here and I click on my anchor point. Oh, I got the wrong one. Hold on, you got to be very careful with this. There, I got it. Click on the anchor point. Hold the shift key down and click on the anchor points. Looks like there's 3 actually. There we go. And now I'm going to use my right arrow and I'm just going to move it over. Look at that. Isn't that wild? Now I'm going to go View, Fit Artboard and Window. And I don't know exactly how far over I want to go with it. I'm going to bring it over to about like that. And if I deselect it, I got MAG. And it's something that is completely different completely unique. There is no font that looks like that. It's literally a logo that I created. Okay? What do you guys think?
I like it.
Now, the other thing that I can do here is this. If you remember, I went in here and I rounded these guys. Okay? So what I think I might do is I think I may come in here and I may try to round this. Actually, I can't now that I've done this. I should have rounded it before I actually went in and cut it. So let me just go edit, undo. Let me undo this a bit. And undo. Hold on. Do this before I actually do this. Undo clear. Undo, ungroup, undo, divide. There we go. Okay. So before I do this, what I want to do is I want to round this. All right. I just want to round this if I can get it to do it. Wait, it's giving me a hard time. Let me try this one. Maybe I have to zoom in on it. Let's see if I can zoom in on it and get it that way. Here we go. All right. Oh boy, it's really not wanting to do it. Yeah, it's not letting me do it. I did it on the other one for some strange reason. It's just not letting me do it. I wonder. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Well, it's not letting me do it. So you know what? I'm not going to spend the whole night fooling around with this. So let me just go in here and I'll get me back to where I was before. And I'll just leave it. Let's go. Object. Let me go. I think that is it divided still? See if it's still divided. It might be because it's still divided. All right, let me get rid of this stuff here. Let me get rid of that again. I got to divide it again. All right, so let's go to Pathfinder. Pathfinder, and let's divide it. There we go. Okay, and now I can get the group selection tool, click on that, delete it, delete, and delete this, delete that. Okay, and then come over here to this part and click on it, get it selected. Click on that thing right there with the group selection tool. Click, hold the shift key, and click, and then move it over, something like that. And let's go view fit order window. Okay, so now I have my MAG. All right, there's my MAG. Now, what I want to do with this is I want to select the whole thing and make sure it's all unlocked. I believe it is. And now I want to go to Pathfinder. Did I shut it again? Here it is. No, that's my aligned window. Pathfinder. I should probably put that right in there since I'm using it. Okay, and I want to combine the whole thing. Oh, Control-Z, what happened here? What happened with that now? Why is that doing that? What's missing? Let me see something here. Where's my selection tool? Okay, there you go. Delete that. There you go. There was an extra piece in there. I don't know how that came about, but there was an extra piece in there. Now, if I select all of this, because these are all separate pieces, I want to make it one piece. I'm just going to unite the whole thing. And now, instead of having individual letters, this is all one piece. All right? Now, I can still click on my group selection tool and click, and I can get that M, and I can move that M. See what I'm doing here? But this has now become one piece. All right? And what I did, I went edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I just simply moved this over a little bit, like that, to create that logo effect. I think that might be too much. No, that's actually okay. There it is. And then what I did was I came in here once again, okay, because I wanted to adjust these lines. And with the direct selection tool, I select this guy. I click on that point, hold the shift key down, click on that point, and then I just move this over until it matches that space. And I could do the same thing over here where I click on this guy, hold the shift key down, and click on that guy, and then use the right arrow to move that over until I match the space. And if I go View, Fit Artboard and Window, there's my mag logo. What do you think, guys? Can you handle that?
Yes.
So again, I'm not saying that you have to do this. Now, if I look at this, there's a little more space here than there is here. So once again, if I get my group selection tool, and if I come over and click on these two things, I can then move both of them over until I get something a little bit more like that, which is probably a little bit better. And I even could possibly do this. I could even take this guy, and no, it's grouped, so I can't really do that. This is kind of like where it's going to end up being, so I might move that back just one like that. There we have my mag. Now, the other thing that I did, let me zoom in on this. The final thing that I did to touch on this was I put some slab serifs on this. And really, to do that, all I did was I just created with the line segment a little bit of a slab serif. Holding down the Shift key, I just created a bit of a slab serif like that. And I made it a black fill, or I mean a black stroke, sorry. And I guess it was, again, it was 3. Yeah, there we go, right? And then I just basically centered it over, you know, in position here. And then edit copy, edit paste in place, and I just moved it over. Up, went too far, like that, right there. And then edit copy, edit paste in place, and centered that one. And because these are so close together, they kind of link up. And then edit paste in place. And then I just move this one over like that here too. And then edit paste in place again. And this one's going to go in this direction. And I'm going to bring it up like that. Something like that maybe. Yeah, that's probably good. And then edit copy, edit paste in place, and then move this one up over here, and then just zoom it out to that area there, bring it up and get that into position, sort of like, oh, maybe like that. Go View, Fit Artboard and Window, and deselect it. And there is my MAG magazine, or MAG, you know, logo. What do you think, guys?
I think that is so awesome. It's so simple, but I mean, it's very complex for my abilities, but it's so simple.
Listen, it's not complex for you. It's tricky. That's all it is. You saw how I did this. It's just tricky. You could do this. It's
amazing how the one little thing you just did with the horizontal line on the M.
Yeah.
Just changed, and the top of the G on the right-hand side, how that completely changed it.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. And I mean, again, now here's one logo design, and here's a variation or another logo design.
Of that, yeah.
You right. See what I'm trying to say? That's why I'm saying, you know, you play around with things, but the important thing for you to understand is, in the case of these logos right here, I didn't even use fonts. I mean, this is the thing. I don't want you to think that you have to use fonts. I want you to, and again, I'm an instructor. I've been working with this program for since 2000, since around 2000, 2001. So it's like 16 years, and I'm not the best person with the program either. There's people that are a lot better than me. But the point is, I know where all this stuff is, and all I can say to you is that if you are exposed to this and if you try this stuff, you're going to find that it's probably a lot easier than you think it is, because it's not like there's 10,000 of these things in there. There's only so many tricks in here, and once you know that they're there, you can start in your mind thinking about how you're going to approach creating something like a logo like this, and how you might do that with the available tools.
Exactly.
And that's, yeah.
Sometimes what I do is I'll be fiddling around with it, and I'll make a mistake, and then I look at it and I'm like, that looks really cool, but how in the world did I just do that? You know, it's just learning the program kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's oddly enough, that's very true. I mean, you'll
Right.
find that there are times when a mistake like that is something like a fortuitous mistake where you've done something and it's worked out to be something pretty good.
Exactly, but I just think that's just so awesome.
Now, if I want to make this thing permanent, what I would do is I would select it all, okay? And I'm only doing this because it's easier. I would go to the object menu and I would go to path and outline stroke. And I've outlined all the strokes on these little slab serifs, right? Okay?
Right.
That's what I just did. That's the reason I did that. Then I would select everything again, and I would go into my Pathfinder. Did I shut Pathfinder again? If I did it, I'll shoot myself. I did.
Please don't do that.
I did it again. Window, Path. I did it again. Okay, where is it? It should be right there. There it is. Now it's in there. Okay, and I'm going to unite it. And now I have one piece. This is all just one piece. Now, if I decided, watch this, if I decided that I wanted to perhaps maybe make the space greater between here, what I could do is, and I probably would have been better off doing this before, but I'll try to show you this. If you come in here, if I wanted to create a bigger gap here, all I'd have to do literally is come in here and add an anchor point right there, all right? And add an anchor point right there, okay? And then all I'd have to do is come in, let me get this thing to where I can see it a little bit better. I get these out of the way for a moment. And come in here with my direct selection tool, and if I'm careful, to select all of that. Ooh, I got to be careful at that bottom. See the bottom selected. Hold down the Shift key and deselect these two because I don't want them to change. Okay, now I think I should be able to right arrow this. Yeah, and you see that space growing? See what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm adding a little bit of space in there. And the reason I'm doing that is because all of these anchor points over here are deactivated.
Okay.
So they don't move. The ones that are active, I marqueed. I'll do it again. I marquee selected them, making sure I get all of them. Notice down in the lower right, the lower left-hand corner, that serif gets in the way. Do you see it?
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So what I got to do is I got to go in there, hold the Shift key down, and click that to deselect it.
Oh.
And then I can move just the G. See?
And that's just with the right arrow key, correct?
Yeah, I'm just using the right arrow to move it over. If I want to move it back, if I don't want to, add that space, I'm only doing it because I want to show you that you really have complete control over this whole thing.
Right.
You really do. If you really want to, spend the time with this, you could go nuts and do all kinds of things, But this is just to give you an idea. So view, fit, artboard, and window, and there's my MAG logo completely done. All right. So again, now I have two. I would submit that. I would submit that. Now let's go to this. Okay, so we have these over here. Now, I was telling you that this idea of the MAG came about because of MAM, Montclair Art Museum. This is the Montclair Art Museum's logo. And Montclair Art Museum is a big art museum. It's one of the bigger art museums in New Jersey. And this is what they do. So I thought, I liked their approach. I liked the bold letters. And I thought, I could play around with the letters like I did over here. Okay? And I could come up with something that it would be a nice approach for my logo. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a little bit about how I did this, okay? So I'm going to go through the steps of doing these. I already showed you how to do this. This is just a modification of this, and if I get around to it, I'll see if I can show you this as well, what I did here as well, okay? So let's start off over here. I'm going to move this out of the way. This right here is, let me go to my characters, and this is Gotham Black. That's all this is. Now this, I used another font. I believe it was Myriad Pro, and I don't like the G at all. That's why I went to Gotham Black, because I liked the G, okay? Now, with that being said, this is live type, all right? This is important for you to understand. Right now, this is live type. I'm going to lock the background. I'm going to go Object Lock Selection. And there's a reason I have this yellow here. The reason I have that yellow here is because when I begin the process of doing the things that you see over here, I need you to understand what's going on. And by having a background on it, I think it'll be easier for you to understand what I'm doing. So that's why there's a background there, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this MAG and I'm going to go edit copy. I want to copy it and edit paste because I want to have a duplicate so I can, if I need it, I can use it again. Select it and go type, create outlines. Okay, now that I've created outlines, I no longer have live type. Okay, so you know why I'm doing that. It makes sense why I'm doing that, right? I don't want live type. I want to modify this type, and in order to modify this type, the type needs to be in outline form, okay? Very important that you understand that point. You're good with it?
That unrestricts you.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, in other words, the kind of surgery, I'm going to use surgery, the kind of surgery that I intend to do with these letters can only be done when the type has been turned into outlines, and outlines are basically grandiose or fancy basic shapes. This is important for you to understand. This is live type, and that's what live type looks like. Let me go to the view menu and hide bounding box again. That's what live type looks like. And I can click on that type and I can change the font and I can change the character, whatever I want. That's live type. That right there is not live type. That is outline type. That means that the coding that's required to change that is gone. And these are just basic shapes. All right? So, object, ungroup. Now, the first thing that I want to do is I want to get my appearance panel. Do you guys know anything about the appearance panel?
Not a thing on my end.
Okay, you're going to love the appearance panel, especially, have any of you guys ever done any three-dimensional stuff? Have you ever gone up and worked with the 3D objects, the extrude and bevel, or the revolve?
Yes.
I have.
Okay, well, if you have, then you know that when you put a 3D extrude and bevel or a 3D revolve onto an object, if you want to go in and modify it, you need to open the appearance panel and you need to access the 3D from the appearance panel. But what you can do here with the appearance panel is you can put multiple strokes and multiple fills, and you can change the order of the fills. Normally, I want you to take a look at this appearance panel. I'm going to select the letter A. Notice that the stroke is the top of the layer stack. Then there's the fill. Then there's the opacity. Okay? Now, if you remember how layers work in Adobe Photoshop, layers work essentially the same way in Adobe Illustrator, meaning that the highest layer is the layer that's in front of everything, right? Am I right about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now I want you to watch what happens, because I'm going to take the stroke on that letter A and I'm going to change the color to white. Okay? Now there's a little tiny white stroke on there, a one-pointer, and I'm going to start making it bigger. 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many I did. Let me see. I probably went about 7. Go to 7. That's probably good right there. 7 will probably do it. Let's, yeah, I think 7 will be good. Now watch what happens when I deselect this. I know it's a very subtle thing, but that stroke is, the actual stroke is centered along the, and I'll try to zoom in to show you what I'm talking about here. Get in on this thing close so you can see what I mean. Look at where the path is. Can you see where the path is, guys?
Mm-hmm.
It's right in the middle of the stroke, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that mean? That means that part of that fill is being covered up by the stroke, which is very bad, because what it's doing essentially is it's destroying the look of that font. So unless you know this trick that I'm about to show you, you're not ever going to be able to put good strokes on your letters or on your shapes, because what's going to happen is part of your stroke is going to cover up the face of your letter. And while this is a sans serif font, if I did the same thing, let me just show you on this letter A. I'll show you how bad it can be. I want to go add new stroke, okay? And I added a stroke to this, and I'm going to bring the stroke up. Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening to the fill. You see how the stroke is becoming huge and the fill is being covered up?
Mm-hmm.
It's really making this thing look very strange. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a color red to that fill, and watch what happens when I drag the fill up in front of the stroke. You ready? Look what happened. So you see what happened? Do you understand what happened? The fill now is in front of the stroke. So what's on the inside part of the stroke is behind the fill. You don't see it. Now if I continue to make my stroke bigger, watch what happens. The stroke gets bigger on the outside only. Look.
Wow, that's pretty sweet.
Isn't that sweet? So no matter what you do, you're going to end up with a perfectly beautiful stroke around a beautiful filled letter. If I do this, now watch what happens when I drag this. Watch when I drag the stroke back up in front of the fill. Look. So you understand what I'm trying to teach you here?
Yes.
There's a way to handle this as well. If you want to make stroke type, always make sure that you do it in the appearance panel, and you can add fills and strokes here, and make sure that you always end up with your fill in front of your stroke or on a higher layer than your stroke. Okay? We good?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back to what I'm doing over here. Let me move this out of the way for a second, and let me bring this down slightly. Okay, so now here's the thing. The reason that I have this yellow is because in order to make my type do what I want it to do, I need to have something to break, and it probably should go to 8 on this. Let me just go to 8. There we go, 8. Okay, I'm going to take the G, and I'm going to use the right arrow to move that G until it is behind that A. And actually, what I'm going to have to do is go Edit Cut and select the A and go Edit Paste and back. There we go. Now I can move that G over until I get it to wherever I want it. I don't know where I want it yet. I think maybe I want it there. Do I want it there? Maybe. Let's see. Then I'm going to take the M, and I'm going to start moving the M over, and I'm going to get that M to where I want it. I don't know where I want it either. That's another one of these things I just don't know until I get it there. I think probably, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like that? Does that look okay to you? What do you think?
More
Should I keep going to the right?
Yeah, I would. I'd keep going to the right a little bit more.
How about that?
Yeah, that looks better. Good.
Okay. So there is the kind of look that I'm going for, except I don't want this white. What I want is I want there to be a gap and I want there to be a gap. So how do I do that? Well, what I can do is I can create a separate shape for that stroke and that fill. And then what I can do is I can use that stroke shape to subtract that area out of the G and out of the M. Okay, is that kind of making sense to you, what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So watch what I do. I'm going to select this guy, right? And I'm going to go to the object menu. I'm going to go to path, and I'm going to go to outline stroke. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this object, ungroup it, okay? And I think there's my shape, all right? Now what I'm going to do is go edit copy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the M, and I'm going to go to my Pathfinder, and I'm going to hit minus front. Control Z. Hold on a minute. Let me see what I'm doing. Let's go. Oh, you know what? I got an idea. Let me do this. Let me select this thing with my group selection tool. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me get the group selection tool out here. And let me click on this guy here. And there we go. Got it. Hold down the shift key and get that. Yeah. All right. Let me go down like this. There we go. Now I got it. Okay. I had to get this out of the way. So now I click on this guy here. All right. And actually, I don't think I need that. Let me delete that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now watch. I don't need this either. Hold on. Let me get this out of here. Don't need that stuff either. Oh, it's going to be hard to select that. There we go. Got it. Delete. There we go. And let me delete this. I don't need that either. This should do it. There we go. Okay. So so am I throwing you all off here? Basically what I did was I took that outline and I turned that outline. I created a shape out of it. And then this became a separate shape. So I carefully selected it and just moved it out of the way. Okay? And then there were a couple of other areas of shapes that were associated with this background that I just deleted them. Because the only thing I want is this thing here. I'm going to use this thing here to scissor off pieces of the M and the G. Okay? Are you okay with that? Or did I make this so hard that you're not following me?
I'm following you. I've done this a different way.
Okay. Well,
there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat in Illustrator, though.
There is. So anyway, I'm going to select both of these guys. This is in front. I'm going to hit minus front. Let me actually make sure that I have this copied. Let's go edit copy. There we go. And now select this thing and let's go minus front. There we go. And now I'm going to click on this guy and go edit, paste in front, and then select it again. And then I'm just going to minus front that. And then I'm going to take this guy and move this guy back up like that. And once I get it into position, I will have what I'm looking for. That's probably pretty close. Okay, so let's go view, zoom out a little bit, and there is my first treatment. Okay, guys.
Nice.
Now again, were you saying something?
No, I just said nice.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, that's one more logo. Now, again, this is very simple, but the point is, it's a step away from just this. Let me get my letters back here. In other words, this is not what I'm looking for. I don't want anybody to just bring me something like that. You know what I mean? I'm looking for you to do something with the logo, and I'm just showing you some stuff. I'm just trying to show you some stuff of my own here in the time that's allowed. Now, what I can do here is take a look. I can come in here and I can play around with this as well. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to do something like that A. So I come in here and I'll zoom in and I'll get my A here, come into my A, and I'll get my, how did I do that? Let me see what did I do to do that. I actually think what I did, there's a number of ways I could do this. I think I might have, did I scissor it? I'm not sure I did. No. I think what I did was, I think I actually created a shape. Let me see if I do this with a shape. So I'm going to create a shape just like that, about like that. Yeah, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this thing over like this, like that. All right, get that to where it's just touching there. There we go. And then what I think I did was I came over here and I clicked on that anchor point, held the shift key down and clicked on that anchor point, and I used the left arrow key to move that thing over like this until I get to that point over there, and I got to zoom in because I'll have to make a fine adjustment on this like that, and I will probably just slide this over. There we go. Oh, I'm a little too far. Let me go back just a touch. Right about like that. And I'm going to end up with a couple of anchor points, but I can get rid of them, I believe. Go to the view menu and let's fit artboard and window, and let me zoom in on this thing again. Okay, and select the letter A along with it. Oh, this has got to be outlined. Go type. Before I do this, let me make sure I have a duplicate in case I want this again. Let's go edit, copy. There we go. And now let's go type, create outline. There we go. Okay. And then this thing here, I think I got to move this to the front. Let's go object, arrange, bring the front, just to make sure. Click on that. And then my Pathfinder is, where are you?
It's at the bottom.
There we go. Okay. And mine is front. Oh, Control Z. You know why? I think it's because it's object ungroup. There we go. Now let's try it. That and that. There we go. Got to be very careful when these things happen. You have to know what's going on. I don't think I ungrouped that, and because it was grouped, it didn't know what to do, and it threw this thing into kind of a wacky situation. So now I've actually come in and I've made that modification. From this point forward, I can just come in here and I can get my direct selection tool, you know, and if I want, I can round these corners, you know, look at and get some kind of cool look like that. Edit, undo if I want, or you know, I could, if I wanted to, click on this thing here, just this one point there. Let me see if I get that one point right there, and I can move that point over, and I can create a look like that if I want. You know what I mean? All these subtle little things that you can do. All right. View, fit artboard and window. So there's another one. And, you know, again, spacing, you know, you can adjust the spacing. Maybe you want them to touch or maybe you want them to be very close. Keep in mind, though, that this doesn't often work when you have an A like this. Look at what happens. When you get real close to that A and the G, it doesn't work very well. That's the unfortunate thing with a letter A. When you're working with a letter A, you run into this problem. That's why something like this, if you're going to actually do something like this, then maybe you have a shot at it, you know. The final one that I have here, which is this guy right here, all right, what I basically did with that, this is another one that's fairly simple. I'll just get this, I'll modify this one, I think. What I did basically with this was let me zoom in on this a little bit. There we go. Once again, I used my direct selection tool, and I clicked on that anchor point, hold down the shift key, clicked on that anchor point, and then I just started bringing this thing over like this. Until I reached this point right here. Yeah, that point right there. Okay. Now this guy here, I want to go object, arrange, bring to front. Okay. And then I hold the shift key down. And again, mine is front. and I end up with that. Okay? Go to the View menu, fit artboard and window so I can find my little A, bring my A over here, put my A in here. Now the A, I'm going to remove the stroke. I don't want any stroke on it. And I'm going to go Object, select it. Object, Arrange, bring to front. Okay, now the A should have the foot right here. That should be literally sitting right on the bottom of that, if I can get it selected. There we go. That should be sitting right on the foot. Should be sitting right on the baseline, right like that. Okay, that will go beneath the line, and there should be a little tiny bit above the line. See that? And that's normal for that letter. Okay. If you want, you could make it a little tiny bit smaller, but that's probably pretty normal for that. And I would probably just cheat it over a slight bit, maybe bring it over about like that. Let me go zoom out, view, zoom out. Yeah, okay. And what I'm trying to do with this is I can punch out the hole. Okay, so I'm about where I want it to be. Remember, you want that to read like an M. So what you're going to do now is you're going to select, oops, I don't want to do that. First of all, I want to go to Type, Create Outlines. All right, so now I have an outlined letter, and I have this shape back here. And I'm going to select both of them. And before I do that, do I want to, no, I think we're good. Let me go to the divide here, Pathfinder, and let me go to divide it. Okay, so now it's divided. Now the reason I wanted to divide this was because I wanted to show you, go Object, Ungroup. Okay, first of all, I can do this and delete that top piece, and do this, delete that bottom piece, and then I have that look right there. Or I could do this, Object, Hide, Selection, and I have that look right there. So let's go View, Zoom Out, and let's take a closer look. So there's another approach. View, Zoom Out. Okay? And this could either be, again, this is one color, or Object, Show All, and it can be a two color. And I believe what I had in mind really for this was like white, you know? So it would look something like that, right? What do you guys think? Anything?
Oh, looks good.
Good stuff.
I just put it all in. This is really cool.
There we go. All right, now, one other thing. Actually, I don't know whether I should do it with this one or not. I guess I could do it with this one. This is kind of an interesting approach, too. Let me go to Type, Create Outlines. All right. And this is something that, well, let me try it and see how this works out. I'm going to get a rectangle. And I'm going to create a very small little rectangle, something sort of like this, right, like that. Okay, what I'm going for, this is what I'm going for. Let me go File, Open, and I'll show you what I'm going for. Yeah, I'm going for this. This is another idea that I had. Where are you? It is the MSI logo. Here we go. The MSI logo, okay? This is what I'm going for, that look right there. All right, so I'm going to show you how I achieved that. I'm going to do it differently, though. I'm going to do it with the other logo, but that's what I'm going for. All right? So what I'm going to do here is, let me zoom in on this. All right, I got this guy right like that, and it looks like I'm okay. I'm going to bring guides out because I want to see where my actual shapes are. Yeah, it's far enough out. That's more than far enough out, and it's the same over here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get my direct selection tool, click on this, and I think I want to go in this direction here. I'm going to click on that one anchor point, and I'm going to use the up arrow to bring that anchor point up. So what I'm doing literally is I'm creating kind of a spiky look. Okay? See what I'm going for? And I might actually move it over in this direction. Oops. I might actually move the whole thing over in this direction. Yeah, I might do that too. Bring it over about like that. That's probably good. Okay, now I want to bring this thing down to about right there. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to go edit, copy, edit, paste in place. And then I want to bring it down to the bottom. And I want to place it in a similar position at the very bottom. And probably what I should do, just so that I can see what I'm doing here, is make them red. The reason I'm making them red is so I can see what I'm doing. And I don't want it to be a stroke, I want it to be a fill. There we go. Okay. Now, see, again, all I'm doing, I just want you to understand, I'm just playing around with shapes and things that I know how to do that I think you guys can kind of handle. So here I got these things placed, right? I got a little bit of a bottom and I got a little bit of a top, okay? Now, I'm going to select both of these guys, right? I'm going to go to the Object menu. I'm going to go to Blends. You guys ever work with blends before?
Yes.
Go to Blend.
Nope. As soon as you did that second one, I was like, oh, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to make a blend. I'm going to actually, a blend is part of it. I'm going to go to Blend. I'm going to go to Specified Steps. I don't know how many steps there it's going to be, so I might have to do this a couple of times. I'm going to start off with 20, and I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go Object, Blend. Where are you at? Blend, Make. Well, it's actually not too bad. Maybe let's go back and let's go edit, undo, blend, make, object, blend. I'm going to actually go, instead of 20, I'm going to go like 19. Maybe just 19 would be better. Hit OK. And let's go to object, blend, make. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. And what I think I want to do with this is, I think what I want to do is I want to move this thing over this way. And I think what I want to do is I want to change the direction of it. There we go. Okay, so now what I got basically, and I'm not even sure how this is going to work. I'm just using this as an example. Probably should do this. Now that I've done that, I should probably go in this direction right there. That's probably pretty good right there. Okay, so I've got this blend. Now the problem is, this is what you need to understand about a blend. Look at the artwork. Look at the way the blend is presenting itself. Can you see there's a top shape and there's a bottom shape? And the bottom shape and the top shape have an outline around them. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them do not. You can see that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what that's telling you is that there are really only two objects out there that truly exist, and that's the top one and the bottom one. So if I were to try to do a Pathfinder command with this thing, I would have trouble doing it simply because there only exists those two shapes. Now, if you take a look, there's also this line which is called a spline. And that spline is essentially what's causing that shape to be created, running in the direction from that shape to that shape. So you've got the top shape, the bottom shape, and the spline. What I want to do to make this work is I want to expand this. So I'm going to go to the Object menu, I'm going to go to Blend, and I'm going to expand. I can also reverse the spline, which I'm not. I'm just going to go expand. Now look at the difference. These are all individual shapes now, but they're grouped. So I want to go Object, Ungroup. Okay? So now what I have is I got a whole bunch of shapes. Okay? Now, what I want to do is I want to bring my Pathfinder out, because what I want to do is in 2 steps, I want to combine all of these shapes into one piece like that. Now that's one piece right there. And then I want to select these two, and what I want to do is, since those shapes are in front and that G is in the back, I want to choose minus front. I think it's got to, yeah, this has got to be object. It's got to be ungrouped as well. Okay, now that's, there we go. Okay, so I just need that one shape, the G, and that's that spline, or that those that effect, minus front. Look at that. What do you think?
Genius.
You like that? You fit artboard and window. So there now is 3 different ways. Now, I'm sure that I could come up with other things that I could do with the same thing, but I don't want to. I'm just trying to show you some basic stuff that would enable you to come up with some different ideas. Do you think I've helped you at all in any way?
Absolutely.
Yeah? You think you'll be able to handle some of this stuff?
Some of it, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, I have 15 minutes left. What I think I'm going to do is, let me just see here. So we did them. We did this. This thing here is very simple, really. This is just, I could show you this. Let me see here. All right, so if I take that, let me get rid of that thing there. All right, so what I did here with this is move this thing over a little bit. All right, and essentially all I did with this was I created a rectangular shape. I'm going to do this quickly. Just create a rectangular shape over the front of this thing. Okay, and I'm going to combine it together. There we go. And now I got, see these 2 internal shapes right there?
Yep.
Okay. If you remember what I showed you, let me get my type back out here again. And let me hit an A. And let me make that A bigger. Let's make it 500. Okay. And let me go type, create outlines. And let me select my direct selection tool, click on it, and delete, and delete. Okay, there's my basic shape. So basically what this is a compound path. So if I hold that down and actually let me get the group selection tool, if I come over here and if I click on this with the group selection tool and hit delete, it's gone because it's a compound path. I'm just simply throwing it away. So I'm going to delete that. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. I got the wrong thing. I got to click. I got to make sure I click it right. Get that, just that inside shape. There we go. There we go. Delete. Okay. Now do the same thing with this. Click on this guy and hit delete. On this though, I want to show you a different way to do this. This one I'm going to come over here and I'm going to zoom in so I can get us down there. And I'm going to start off by getting my anchor point, my pen tools, bring my pen tools over here. And what I'm going to do is get the delete anchor point tool, and I'm going to click on that point and click on that point. And then if I want, I can even come in here and click on that point. Whoops, I didn't get it. Let me click on that point. There we go. And click on that point. And there is my A. Okay, now let me go view, fit artboard in window. All right, now what I want to do is I want to create a widening of this at the bottom. Now I don't know how well this is going to work. I'm going to try it though. Let me see if I can find my scale tool. I want my pre-transform tool. There we go. And what I want to do is I want to do a perspective on this thing. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to drag this thing out like that. And oops, I didn't get it. It didn't quite come out right. So let's do this. Let's see if we can do this another way. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a rectangle, probably right to about there, like that, and then all the way down like that. And then I can try to get my direct selection tool, click on that, and start moving this over. That's much better. There we go. Now that's much better. And then do the same thing here. Bring this out like that.
Good. Thanks.
It came out a little chunky. It was supposed to be Alfredo.
What?
I don't know what went wrong.
Are you talking to me?
Sorry, my wife said Alfredo.
Oh, okay. There we go. Now I'm going to select these two, and oh, I got to make sure I get the right tool. Select these two, and let's go to my Align tool, and let's align them to the middle. There we go. That's pretty good. Oh, actually, it's not. Let me see here. That's good right there. That's good enough for our purposes for now. And then I'm going to combine them. So there's my M and my A. All right. And I probably just touch these things. Probably the way to go is to just touch them. Although, you know, no, actually, that's not too bad. Then I'm just going to create a circular shape, ellipse tool. I'm in here. Let me bring it from here right down to about there. There we go. And then we just move that over till I get some space. And that's probably pretty good. And that's how I did those guys right there. And maybe just bring this over a touch. There we go. There we go. Now, what I did here was I just played around with the corners on these things. That's really what I did. Let's see if I can show you. These things here, what I did was I just actually, I created, let me see if I can remember how I did this. I think what I did was I created a shape like this. I basically created a shape something like this, right? Like that. And I got my direct selection tool, rounded it like that. There we go. And I think I made it a little bit longer. I did something like that, right? And I edit copy, edit paste in place. Move this over to here. I probably should change the colors of them so I could see them a little bit better. What I would probably be better off doing is making them white. You just go to here and make them white. There we go. And let me make that one white so I can see them a little bit better. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, so I click on this guy right here. Click on this guy right here. Oh, actually, you know what? I think what I'm going to have to do is, in order to get this to work, I'm going to have to combine all that. There we go. Now I can do it. Click on that, and minus front. There we go. Click on that, minus front. All right. And then, yeah. And then what I can do is edit, paste in place. Here we go. Let me make that white again. And let me bring this over here. And I do something like this, bring it down, maybe, bring it down some, like that, and minus front, like that. And then if I want to create the cross for the A, you know, I mean, just a matter of coming in here and deciding how you want that to look. Maybe something like that. And then combine it. There we go. And we have that. And then the G, I mean, I don't exactly know. Let's see what I did with that. I think I probably just did something like this where I carved the piece out. Something like that. Maybe about that wide. And click on this. Let's see. And minus front. Yep, that's a good start. And then maybe a circular shape. You know what? Just for the heck of it. I mean, maybe it's stupid, but let me throw a star in there just to make something a little different. Maybe what I'll do is put that star in the middle of there just for the heck of it, for a little bit of contrast. There we go. It'd be nice if I selected both of them. There we go. All right. And actually, that don't work very well. It looks more like a C. Let's go edit, undo, subtract, edit, undo, subtract. And I think probably what I'm going to want to do here is this, delete it. And I want this thing to be, let's see. Yeah, so I needed to do that. Okay, so let's see. If I make a circle, let's see if I can make that work. Come in here and drag out a circle. Here's my shape. And get it to about center where I want it. And let me see here. Is it big enough? Yeah, it's probably big enough. Let me go like that. And let me go like this. And shift select them. And minus front. Okay, and now all I need to do is come in here and create another graphic shape. I'm doing this very quickly, and I'm certainly not really doing this properly, but I'm trying to give you just an idea of how I would create these custom letters. You know, that's really all I'm trying to do, is give you some idea how I might approach creating these custom letters. There we go. And now just select that like that, and then there we go. View, fit, artboard and window. There we go. So there's another one. All right. And then I don't know. I think if you click on this, you see got all these corners. You can start coming in here, and you can start trying to round these corners off. And for some reason, they don't seem to want to do it, but they were doing it. I had no trouble doing it the other night. I don't know why it's not letting me do it. Yeah, it's giving me trouble doing it tonight for some real weird reason. Don't know, but it did let me do it the other night. Let me see if I can zoom in closer. Maybe that'll work. All right, click on it. There we go. Let me see. Nope, ain't letting me do it. Nope. All right, so I can't get it to work tonight for some reason. There we go. All right, so there we go. Those are some of the things that I did to create some logos. I hope this was helpful. Do you guys have any final thoughts or anything before we end for tonight?
Thanks for the help.
You good?
Thank you.
So just so that you know, I will be in Blackboard tomorrow night from 7 o'clock until 11 o'clock Mountain Time. I'll also be in Blackboard on Friday morning from 9 o'clock until 11 or 12. Yeah, 9 to 12 Friday morning. And Saturday I'm in Blackboard from 7 o'clock until 12 o'clock. If you need any help, you want me to take a look at what you're doing, anything, you know, please feel free to stop by, and, you know, I'll give you whatever help I can give you. Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, one more thing. We have the assessment. Let me just show you the assessment real quickly. So this is my assessment. Logo redesign. Des242 logo and identity design, Bill Sweeney. I'd like to see a title. I'd like to see you to put your, you know, the course and your instructor. And then, of course, basically come in and do whatever it tells you to do. MasterCard design combo mark by Pentagram. That's basically, I think your assignment is to choose 3 different redos and talk about them. And that's basically what I did. And just so that you know, I tried to make mine look as nice as possible by putting some pictures in. I have citation and referencing, images, and then, of course, at the bottom of my reference, I've also linked to the articles on the 67 famous logo redesigns before and after. If you would like to, I'm not sure whether I actually put this in to announcements, but this is 67 famous logo redesigns. So your assignment is to do a logo redesign thing. So there's 67 in there. Do you want that link?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I don't know whether I put it in or not. I'll just make sure that I put it in now so that it's there. And you can go in and find the same thing that I used for that, and you'll be good to go. Let me go to my announcements and let's see what's there. Let's see here. No, I don't think it's there. Okay, so here's your 67 redos. 67 RES redos. And let's go Control V. And there you have it. There's your link. Okay, let me just hit it quickly. Save. Let me just test it to make sure. I want to make sure it's there, so that click on that. And there you go. There you go. And there they are. Okay. There they are. All right. So now you can just literally go right in there and pick yourself 3. And what I did was I used the information that I found there. If I felt I wanted some more information, I just basically, depending upon which one it was, like for instance, if it was MasterCard, I went and I looked up, I Googled MasterCard redo. And what happened is it brought me into a series of links that talked about MasterCard redo. And then I went in and I read some of the copy and I extracted what I wanted from that. So that's how I handled it. Okay?
All
You
right.
guys think you're good?
I think I am.
All right.
I just want to kind of
my
pre-warn you,
best.
this week I'm really busy because of stock show.
Yeah.
My assignments might be a little late.
I'll do the best you can.
I plan on it. It's kind of been hectic. They've been calling me off the hook.
Okay. All
So,
right.
are you in Colorado?
Yeah, I'm in Texas.
Oh, okay. Because I used to do the Denver National Stock Show every year, and I just got sad, and I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. I want to be there.
Yeah, my kids show rabbits Thursday morning, but I'm in the ladies'